The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is presently in India, and today is her second and the last day of her visit. She held a bilateral with the Indian Prime Minister. At their meeting, the President of the European Commission and the Indian Prime Minister agreed to launch the EU-India Trade and Technology Council. In a tweet, Ursula von der Leyen shared the development, adding that the two sides will also step up cooperation in trade, technology and security. Now, with this launch, Ursula von der Leyen has branded India as a technological powerhouse. The official statement from the European Commission has said that this strategic coordination mechanism will allow both partners to tackle challenges at the nexus of trade, trusted technology and security. The decision to set up a Trade and Technology Council will be the first one for India with any of its partners, while it's the second trade council for the European Union following the first one that it has set up with the United States. The Council is similar to an EU-US model which allows a discussion on digital privacy regulation of technology companies and social media platform subversion. India and the 27-member EU bloc have maintained some steady trade ties over the last several years. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauded von der Leyen's leadership, stating that under her leadership, the India-EU relationship is achieving new heights and new areas for cooperation are being created. This is the top EU official's first visit to India as the President of the European Commission on her final day of the visit. She also met with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, and earlier the European Commission President paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi as she visited the Rajghat Memorial earlier this morning.
ये मूवमेंट नहीं हुई.
On the discussion and the tool.
And Ursula von der Leyen has also been invited the chief guest for this year's edition of the Raisina Dialogue that will take place later in the day today.
For your visit. So, this is the book, Mahatma Gandhi.
And for more on this story, we're joined in by WION who's joining us live from New Delhi. Good afternoon to you, Siddhant. This, of course, is a very crucial visit by Ursula von der Leyen to India, where she also had a bilateral meeting with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Bring us up to speed with what has been discussed so far.
Well, on the table is everything from trade to technology to, of course, Indo-Pacific, and the biggest worry for Europe right now, that is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We saw the engagement between the Indian Prime Minister and the visiting EU dignitary, and the focus, of course, was on the commonality between India and the EU, the shared values, democracy, and, of course, rule of law. This was mentioned by Ursula von der Leyen, and this, of course, clearly points to what China has been doing essentially with its aggressive stance in the region. And of course, from the European perspective, what Russia has been doing in Europe. We are, of course, waiting for more details as well. But we saw yesterday a day full of engagement in India with she, of course, addressing the International Solar Alliance as well, a keynote initiative which Indian government has taken. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi suggested it. But largely, if you look at later today, the address at the Raisina Dialogue is something that will be significant given what she has to say from New Delhi. It is given that she is going to raise the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but in what context and the usage of word is something that everyone will be closely watching, especially those sitting in Moscow, because we know that India and Russia have close relationship, and India, of course, has been essentially a territory for last few weeks of European leaders coming and, of course, lashing out at Russia. In fact, there will be more. There are, in fact, even as I speak, there are a lot of European foreign ministers, but we do expect more foreign ministers to arrive here in Delhi.
Absolutely, indeed. And what is very interesting with some of these European leaders who have come to India is that they want India in some ways to decouple the strategic partnership and relationship that it has with Russia. The European nations, for instance, earlier Boris Johnson, when he was here, he said that Britain is willing to share technology to develop jet engines for fighter jets. And, you know, and also many of these European leaders have said that India should try and reduce the reliance of Russian oil that India continues to purchase, even though Europe purchases way more oil than India. This is an interesting dynamic that is playing out here.
Well, of course, there has been questions in the past about of India importing discounted Russian crude oil. Now, this has been answered very well by the Indian External Affairs Minister, that too in Washington, when he reminded how India has been importing very less and what Europe has been importing essentially when it comes to importing from Russia. That, of course, debate rages on. But largely what Europe has been doing, what UK has been doing, is providing New Delhi various ways and proposals in terms of decoupling from Russia, in terms of defense. You've already pointed out the proposal when it comes to fighter jets and in terms of energy, clean energy. Remember yesterday the visiting EU dignitary talked about how the dependency on the Russian fossil fuel can be reduced if there is more focus on renewable energy, on solar energy, and we know that leads the initiatives India has been taking. So essentially that is the way forward, but largely in short term it doesn't look like that India is going to change its stance or perhaps criticize Russia in a major way, primarily because of its reliance on Russia for defense.
Absolutely indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Siddhant, for joining us and getting us all those updates there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.